Yeah, Aegis or whatever that company was, that is a good example of what we're talking about here about insurance.
Hmm.
Uh, I learned that here in California, a lot of the insurance companies just pulled out of here.
Yep.
So that is also something that we are learning here in our region, right? That some of the insurance companies are just pulling out of Cali in the commercial living industry.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's yet the insurance industry is dramatically changing. I'm actually quoting right now a 40 unit company that is gonna explode into about an 8,000 unit company. Um, the tariffs are going to play a determining factor in their contract with the car industry. So it's going to be pretty interesting. It's going to be a pretty interesting 3 years.
So the tariffs do affect the insurance industry.
They don't affect the well, I mean they do by a long stretch. So the way that it affects us is when tariffs hit, they affect the loads that semis get, and based on the amount of loads that the semis get or the truckers get is based, base is how much revenue they bring in, and based on how much revenue they bring in is, how much insurance companies or how many businesses are going to go out of business, which affects the insurance companies and may cause them to increase rates or take a hit for a year and decrease rates so people could stay in their truck. Odds are they're not going to decrease rates to keep people in their truck, because if they decrease rates, everybody and their mom's going to jump into a truck trying to, it's just going to be COVID 2.0.
So let me ask you something. Let's say, for example, you take a year contract in policy, right? And somebody just happens to run out of business halfway into the year. Does the trucker or fleet owner get reimbursed for that half of the year, or is profited, or how does that work?
So insurance is always prorated. Insurance companies cannot keep unearned premium unless it is stated in your policy. So there's such thing as called uh, an earned premium policy. It's an endorsement. The insurance company could turn around and say at the beginning of your policy, saying, "Hey, no matter what, 25% of this expected premium is earned premium," which means you could bind it and 2 hours later cancel it, and you still owe them that 25% of your policy. So that
Okay.
has to be disclosed to you, or else the insurance agent or broker could get in some trouble. That's an E&O exposure. So, I mean, by no means is it ideal, but that's just how that portion works. So, if someone cancels their policy, there's not an earned premium endorsement on there, and they put 20% down that takes care of their first payment and last payment usually. What'll happen is they have to give a 30-day notice of cancellation or revoke their authority immediately. Once the authority shows revoked, the insurance company can cancel the policy effective the day of revocation. That at that point, then yes, most likely they will receive a credit back or a check in the mail after about 30 to 60 days. And of course, that's either going to go to the finance company, depending on who they're insured with, or back to their own pocket so they can kind of pay off some debt, essentially.
Got you. Is that the reason why sometimes they ask you even for like 2 months in advance? Like, for example, the last insurance contract I had to pay 10 payments and get the last two free. That's where I'm at now. So is that in a way to secure they get their 20 or 25% commission in there?
So it's really has nothing to do with commission. It's more or less making sure that the insurance company themselves don't get burned. Because one thing that truckers don't realize sometimes is, and this is why I love educating truckers on insurance, because I can make it make more sense as to why things are set the way they are. So insurance companies, for example, no matter what, if you call and say, "I need to cancel my insurance," You cannot cancel your insurance. Truckers cannot cancel their insurance effective immediately if there's filings. So what makes your DOT or authority active? So those filings that they send out there, the FMCSA and the government have something out there stating, hey, you have to give us a 30-day notice that you're canceling your insurance. So they require the insurance company to cover you for those 30 days. And legally, the insurance company, if they are required to cover you, they can charge you out for that for those 30 days. So the loopholes through that are you getting another policy in place with a different insurance company. They can the other old company can cancel effective immediately at that point once you have your papers stating, hey, this insured is insured with us now. We're issuing filings. The other way is to revoke your authority, and in which they can turn around and cancel your policy effective when the authority is revoked. The other option is selling your unit and providing a bill of sale. This one's a little trickier because usually the government's still going to require 30 days of coverage and the insurance companies have nothing to cover, but a bill of sale for the unit that is on your policy that's keeping or that they're insuring, and they can turn around and cancel the policy then. So that's that whole purpose of the 30-day policy is the reason why truckers have to put 20% down, because it takes care of the first month and the last month's payment, which means when you cancel your policy and that 30-day notice goes into play, and if you don't pay that, it comes out of that 20%.
That makes sense. Well, thank you for educating us, because sometimes there's so much paperwork involved that we originally just give up and just ask where do we sign, because so much to read in a few minutes that we just go by trust. Most of the time, at least I do, because it's so much paperwork to read, and then a lot of this small print is very hard to understand anyway. So it's just based upon trust. I will believe, at least for myself, it is. So thank you for educating us. It's kind of a crash course here about insurance.
100%.
So thank you for your knowledge.
No, I appreciate the chance to come up here and talk to you guys, because I mean it's not often that, to be honest, it's one in every probably 25 truckers or trucking companies that are actually willing to listen. So it's very small because, either truckers just don't want to hear it because we're the biggest expense that they have, or they just don't care. They just want to make sure that they have the coverage, quote unquote, to allow them to run. Nobody cares until there's a claim. And then it's, why didn't you tell me that? So,
Absolutely.
and that's kind of the issue that we run into. So that's why I started doing this, is because the people that are listening, if they're not reading through their policy and they're not double checking, if they're not sending their policy to me to double check it, they have nobody else to blame.
Absolutely. And this is why I'm asking these questions and kind of taking advantage of this platform here, because there is a lot of things that are very important. And there is always a high possibility of us getting to an event out here on the road. So that's why I thank you, because I do care, and I know it does hit home eventually. So it's better to be prepared, or at least get basic education upon it. Let me ask you another question, since you know a lot about this. The premiums for events, right? I noticed that is getting to be a little bit higher. Is it due because there's more events up to date than before? Why are the premiums getting a little bit higher, to your opinion?
So my opinion, and just to make it clear, everything that I'm saying is not absolute. Okay, because insurance
Sure,
changes day to day. Even it's one of the slowest
sure,
moving industries, but also the fastest changing industry at all times. So that's my disclaimer. Just double
sure.
Everybody needs to double check their state and everything and regulations. But for example, California, Texas, Louisiana, did I already say Florida? Georgia, New Jersey, New York, all of those states are a hot mess when it comes to backing the trucking industry and having people's backs when they're getting into lawsuits and the legislation and requirements. Because really, not a lot of truckers know this, but not every insurance policy is the same. Your auto liability policy in California is completely different than your auto liability policy in Texas, New York, Iowa, Minnesota. Like every single one has to be written a specific way based on the state, because the state has a regulation that requires certain aspects to be covered. So you might be more covered in on a California policy driving through the US than you would be covered in Iowa driving through the US. So depending on the claims that are happening in your state, if there's a high claims if there's high claims in your state, then premium's usually going to go up because now your pool in California, for example, your pool, your legislation, the claims per capita, the um, escalations of lawsuits. I mean, all those are taken into account when writing. The insurance company basically says, "Hey, if this happens, what's the potential of us, or what's the potential payout on any given claim, and what's the ratio that we're seeing?" Okay, well, one in every 12 trucking companies is going to have a claim based out of California. Okay, well, this is the 12th guy that we're insuring, and this is how much we're expected to pay out. And these given 12 trucking companies, we need to keep the rates at this so that way we don't either lose money or we don't, come flat even. Because the ideal loss ratio is 40% of what your premium is. So if you have a $20,000 policy, I believe the math breaks out to $8,000 worth of claims. The moment you go over $8,000 on a $20,000 policy, you're high risk,
Wow.
because the 40%, you got to think the insurance companies have bills just like you do. They have to pay me, which I take 10%. My company does. And then they've got to keep their own lights on. They got to pay for the underwriter that just did all this. They have to pay for their legal team. They have to pay for licensings. Like, what you guys are paying for is fuel, maintenance, stuff that of course comes up. And I'm not saying that it's expected stuff, but for the most part it's kind of expected. Like, hey, well, I have to pull permits, or I have to pay for this fee, my CDL getting renewed, my insurance payments coming up, this maintenance for my truck because my tires are getting bald, whatever it may be. That's kind of, there's nothing that really jumps out too much out of the norm. But with insurance, you have random lawsuits, you have the lawyers that they send to protect their clients, they have court fees. I mean, you name it, anything that could go array, there there's costs coming from everywhere in insurance because there's so much legality in it. So they have to look
Yeah, I
through all
learned.
that.
I learned firsthand. We were involved in a major event maybe 6, 7 years ago,
Mhm.
and I've learned how involved our insurance was with that event. Even though we were not at fault, somebody hit one of our drivers behind the trailer as he was on the shoulder. Uh, had the triangle style flashers on, but a drunk driver ended up hitting him, causing a fatality. So when there's a fatality involved, everybody gets involved.
Yep.
And I understood the expenses of the insurance companies because right away they had to involve a lawyer firm, investigators, private investigators, collecting data on the scene
Hmm.
at the same night.
Oh yeah.
So I understood, and right, flat out told me we're putting $100,000 into this right now, just for us, just for you to know. So I understood and appreciated that company. I would not mention the company's name, but it was a great experience because we were found out guilty and we got audited by the CHP, DOT. It's a major investigation where there's a fatality involved.
Oh, 100%.
And but there's a guy, we came out clean. But I understood another part that I learned. I don't know if you know much about this. That some states, for example, here in California, if you get into a lawsuit or you get involved in the courts, here in California, it's not like 100% you win, 100% you lose. I believe what I learned is here in California, you might be liable for 40% versus 60% or 50-50. But what I learned is like when you have a commercial insurance for $1 million and a car has $60,000 in it, it might be a major difference for the insurance for a percentage of the loss. Am I correct about this? Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, so I mean, and what's crazy is to think about this. So if you really break down the numbers, even a $40,000 quote actually is justified. And let me kind of explain that. When you break down your insurance policy, you're paying $200 a month, right? You're paying $200 a month for maybe 30 to $50,000 in coverage for a personal auto. That's I mean, that's well more than 2%, I believe. Let me pull this up really quick and I'll get the calculator out. But let's say that you have a $50,000 policy and you divide that by 200. Actually, it's the other way around. Sorry. So $200 times that by 12. So $2,400 divided by 50,000. So 4% of your policy every year is what you're paying for personal auto. Okay. If you turned around and charged the 0.048 to $1 million of coverage, that's $48,000. That is $48,000, and these insurance companies are taking half that. They're charging you 2% of $1 million policy. So, and you guys are more likely to get sued than a personal auto. Like if I got rear-ended today and I wasn't at fault and I turn around and sued the other guy, I'm gonna get 50 grand and then cut that in half because the lawyer's gonna take it. It's not worth my time. But a semi rear ends me on the other hand, oh boy, that's a free payday. Make 500K after the $1 million is split out, get a new car, maybe pay off my house, all because you tap my back bumper. That's the difference between personal auto and commercial auto policies. You're paying half the rate of a personal auto. And yes, don't get me wrong, it's way more expensive. But when you break everything down and you compare apples to apples, why aren't people in personal vehicles up in arms about insurance rates? Because they're
Yes, sir.
they're they're paying they're paying double the percentage that truckers are. I mean,
Oh, wow.
so I mean, like if you think about the percentage breakdown ratio, so personal autos are more apt to get into accidents, don't get me wrong. But I mean, you kind of look at it that way and look at it sideways, you're just like, damn, like that doesn't make any sense. Like why is the average day citizen paying, you know, 4% of what their policy is even worth? You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. It makes a lot of sense. And thank you for bringing this out because you're in this. This is what you do for a living. So this is very educational for us, and at least it will have us question some of the things that we're doing daily without even paying attention. So awareness is very important. This is why I take advantage of this platform or yourself being a specialist in the industry. Uh, have another thing, something that I learned. When you buy insurance for trucks, I understood or I learned 2 years ago that not every insurance is a good insurance.
Correct.
And not always would they be transparent about this, or they will not always disclose the ratings of the insurance because their goal is to sell you an insurance packet for a year or two. I've learned that some of the insurances out there are classified A, maybe B or C. What is the classifications of these insurance companies? Because what I've learned in some of these companies, they might not be approved to get a load from, let's say, a regular broker.
Yep.
What do you know about this? How can you help us to identify this?
So, for example, the company I work for, we only work with A-rated carriers, whether they're surplus lines or admitted, which we can get into that after this. But to answer your question, the you have A plus plus, you have A plus, you have A minus, and you have B plus plus. So it goes minus, standard letter, plus, plus, plus. So plus plus means that they are financially backed to the max. That means you're Progressive, right? Progressive is the biggest insurance company in the nation. They hold and insure the most trucking companies in the nation and the most truckers in general. They are backed by billions. I mean, billions of dollars. And, it might as well be backed by 14 different Jeff Bezos. Like that's how much money's backing them. So their collateral to pay out is very good. Now you go to a C-rated carrier. C-rated carriers probably got $20 million, maybe $100 million financially backing them. So they're going to be rated as C. Basically, what those ratings are is the ability to pay out mass claims. If if a majority of Progressive clients were to get into claims, Progressive would be able to most likely pay all of it out and still be able to insure people. If a majority of the other C-rated or B-rated carriers got into claims and they were, massive claims, odds are they'd have to get bailed out by the government. The state of whatever that trucker was domiciled in would have to step in because the insurance company is going to go insolvent and they're not going to be able to pay out all the money. So they're going to put all their liquid resources, throw it out there. The government's going to turn around, jump in, and cover the rest of your claims. That's that's the that's basically the breakdown of the rating system. How much money is backing your insurance company?
Okay, great for explaining that. So now, how does it affect us? Let's say, for example, I'm new to the industry. I got a truck and a trailer, and I have an account going on. But my account, my shipper, he will not accept my insurance because it is classified maybe C in this case. So what do you recommend for new entrants or for even existing drivers with equipment, owner operators with experience? You would recommend for always trying to get a at least an A, right? A plus insurance to protect you, so you will not be denied. Where is the not the gray area, but the positive results of everybody accepting you to do business with the insurance? What grade level do you consider or suggest that we should get an insurance with?
A minus at minimum. So any A-rated carrier typically is approved almost anywhere. Now you have certain brokers that are saying we won't accept Progressive because they didn't pay out on the cargo claim because I hired a driver that didn't have the right cargo coverage. Well, that's on you and your due diligence. Sorry, your company's not set up properly. That's the way I tell people. If you have a broker that says they won't take Progressive, I'm sorry, but your broker didn't ask enough questions on what you're approved to haul, which I have a ton of, small brokers that I insure. And I say, hey, make sure you ask the insurance agent directly, what are exclusions on the policy? What are things that are covered on the policy? Because last thing you want to do is send a trucker out there who said general freight to Progressive, which means dry van consumer goods is all it means to the insurance company, and that's how we write it. So when you say general freight to someone, usually it's dry van consumer goods. That's all that's going to be covered for your cargo. So if you go haul a flatbed with a bulldozer on the back. Guess what happens when you get into a claim? Doesn't matter how well financially backed they are, they're not covering it. That's not their fault. So when you're looking for insurance, you can actually Google the rating of a company. So you can go Google AM Best rating of Progressive, AM Best rating of Tip or Trisura, AM Best rating of this company. Like if you just turn around and ask your agent who they're quoting you through, they'll tell you, and you can just Google it. It's public knowledge. So when you're kind of going through that whole ordeal, usually what I tell truckers is don't always go after the cheapest quote, because if you come to me and say, "Well, you got me a $20,000 quote and this guy over here got me a $10,000 quote." Okay, what's the insurance company? I bet you it's not A rated. Well, I don't care about that. You don't yet, until you realize the $10,000 that you're quote unquote saving is just as much as what you're going to lose for the loads that you're going to be able to take, because brokers aren't going to take you for loads. You're going to get passed right over. So cheapest quote isn't always the best quote. Do your research. 100%.
Yeah, it's very important. I happen to be navigating the process, and actually had an agent that was going to sell me a rated B, but because I was comparing three agents, and one of the other agents says, "Wait a minute, you're about to lock a deal with a rated B when they're representing a rated A." So when I confronted this agent out of Florida, and I said, "Listen, they're telling me that the company you're about to sell me is rated B, not A." And sure enough, so it was a lie. And I learned, that I almost made a mistake by not knowing this. So this is why it's important, like you're saying, for us truck driver owner operators, fleet owners, to be educated at least on the basics, because we really don't know. It's not that we don't care. It's just that, I can admit I'm very ignorant because I'm in the box most of the day. So we don't get rest enough. How can I just invest my time in investigating all these areas? So this is why I'm taking advantage and asking these questions, because I want other owner operators, carriers, that there is a major difference, and if you don't be careful, you might end up buying something that is not going to benefit you in the long run. So this is a great opportunity to expose this. But thank you for those
Yeah, and
answers.
also to kind of go into the other portion that I was bringing up, the admitted versus non-admitted slash surplus lines. So cer- admitted carriers are backed by the state. They have the state's permission to sell um, coverage within the state, and they have an agreement with the state saying, "Hey, if we go insolvent, you'll cover the claims that we can't cover." Great. Now, not admitted, meaning, hey, we have a license to sell in the state, but we don't have an agreement with the state to turn around and financially back us if a claim arises. So, do you know what happens when a claim arises and they can't pay out? It comes back on you.
Wow.
So, that's, if you get into a catastrophic claim and they're like, "Hey, we can't afford this," you can't reach out to the state. You sign an agreement with the insurance company stating that you're aware you can't reach out to the state to pay claims on your behalf. They can't reach out to the state to pay on your behalf. Now, don't get me wrong, like people will try, but it's going to get to the point where, you're going to be paying out of pocket for, depending on how bad the claim is, potentially for the rest of your life. It's going to come back on your company.
Wow.
So that's the difference. So usually when you're doing surplus lines, usually the best way to utilize surplus lines is for like physical damage claims, or physical damage policies, hard to place insurance, and usually it requires 2 to 3 declinations from an admitted carrier stating they won't insure you. So that way, it's called you're doing your due diligence, because the state would prefer you to be insured with an admitted carrier, rightfully so. So that way they can back you financially.
Wow, great information. What is how important it is to have no losses within a year. Let's say, for example, I got an insurance packet 2 years ago, and I was a new entrant, and the second year, because ages, that insurance was going to leave the state, I had to get another insurance. So when they asked me, okay, what was your loss? You actually have to prove to them that you had no losses, or you have to prove that you did have some losses. How important is to have no losses in your history if you're going to negotiate with a new insurance company?
So it's detrimental to make sure you don't have any claims, because what I always tell people, your first 1 to 3 years is not for you to make money. As much as I hate to say it, it is a proving point to the insurance companies that, hey, I'm a great risk. I know how to run my business and drive on the road. I don't get sidetracked. I don't hire crappy drivers, because people talk to me all the time about, well, I hired this driver and he screwed me over. Well, what'd he do? And I mean, I can see it. Like, I can look at their DOT and see it. And I know exactly what the driver did, but I'll ask him, be like, "Oh, well, he didn't do much." Really? So the substance abuse on your record, what's that about then? If he didn't do anything, so who did the substance abuse? And I will sit here and I will play dumb, and then I catch you. And usually at that point, if you're willing to lie to the only person that can really help you, nobody's going to be able to help you. So it's not, it's not me trying to be rude or be condescending to anybody. It's more or less just like, okay, are you going to allow me to actually help you? Are you going to tell me the truth? Are you going to, like, do you actually want to fix this? Because the moment you lie to me about it, you don't want to fix it. You're just trying to get insurance so you can get back on the road and do what you want to do. I'm not willing to insure that. I'll decline you right there. And I usually tell people right up front, like, hey, as long as you don't lie to me and you're truthful, I will try to help you. I can't guarantee I'll be able to help you, but I will try to help you. Now, when it comes down to the actual claims, your first 1 to 3 years, if they are under, I would say if they're under 20%, like if it's just a casual physical damage claim, like, hey, $1,100 was paid because I tapped a deer. Great. Perfectly fine. We can explain that. Hey, deer jumped in the middle of the road. Driver didn't swerve because that was going to be more dangerous. He didn't want to go into oncoming traffic, and he didn't also want to go off into the ditch. We have a story to tell. But if you sit here and you rear-ended someone that was at a dead stop, you were doing something you weren't supposed to be doing. You were either on your phone, sidetracked, or, maybe, well, we'll just leave it at phone and being sidetracked. That is going to show the insurance company that you are not a very safe driver right off the bat. That's why insurance companies don't go off of MVRs. So when you're driving your first 1 to 2 years, it is extremely important. Like, you are going to make or break your company within the first 3 years.
Very important to know. Thank you for that. So me myself, I'm diverse. I like to pull, let's say, a van, a flatbed, and a reefer. I have these options just because I will follow the industry and would have kind of three doors open instead of just that one, to be prospecting for uh, bigger or better opportunities instead of just getting stuck in one industry where it kind of dies. What kind of insurance, or what can I do to say, listen, I would like to have an insurance that might cover me for all three throughout the year? Is it the pricing changes drastically and having
Yes.
open insurance?
So a lot of insurance companies, sorry to cut you off, but a lot of insurance companies, at least within your first 1 to 3 years, will require you to specialize in one type of commodity, whether it's dry van, reefer, or flatbed, or intermodal, or, I mean, oversized overweight. You have to bring the experience to the table. Like, you have to. Most insurance companies will not insure you as a one unit for four different commodities. maybe not even 2, depending on what you're hauling. If you want to haul hazmat, you're only hauling hazmat. You don't get to pull drive in. You don't get to pull any of this other stuff. I mean, can you? 100%. But guess what? That dry van trailer that you're gonna pull next week, all week, you're still paying hazmat rates because you're paying the highest risk possible for the commodity that you're paying. So if you tell me, hey, I'm hauling logs and dry van, and um, I'm just gonna drive my truck around 90% of the time by itself with no trailer attached, no matter what, you're going to be charged as if you were hauling logs every single load because that is the highest risk commodity.
Very important to know. Thank you. Yeah, because I know even some drivers that are doing that, but I can understand the logic behind it because it's not the same to haul a load of shrimp in a reefer than just basic pillows in a dry van. So the cargo liability is way higher for shrimps than pillows. So it makes a lot of sense. And I'm just asking this because a lot of us might be doing it or done it, and it's better to be educated and why it's important to know these things on the insurance side.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Not a problem.
So, truck wise, how important is it for a carrier to actually list the commodities compared to insurance? Because a lot of carriers will just put general freight and that's it on their MC 150.
So as far as the MC 150, here's the issue. The MC 150, as far as the cargo that you're gonna be hauling, only really matter. Like you can list general freight on there. That's perfectly fine. Nobody honestly cares what you list on your MCS 150 as long as it's accurate. So if you're going to be hauling cars, yeah, don't list general freight because that's going to change the required amount by the government for your filings. So if you're, you know, dry van and flatbed and reefer usually require only 750,000, but the moment that you're hauling automobiles requires $1 million filing. The moment that you decide to haul petroleum, $5 million filing, explosives, $10 million filing. Like that's the government's way to realize, hey, this is what they're primarily hauling. If you have $1 million filing and you're hauling autos, can you haul dry van? 100%, as long as your insurance company approves it. Now, I get everybody and their mom wants to be able to be insured for everything, but that's just not the way insurance is, and it never will be. There's too much exposure there. People will take advantage of it. I mean, it's the reason why there's issues with this, with the insurance company trying to cover everything, is because they've had issues in the past that have burnt them. And not just like a $50,000 claim here and there. It's okay, here's a $20 million claim. Here's another claim. Here's another claim. You know, if you list your hauling dry van, great. But just because you're hauling dry van, what are you putting in there? Because every trucker's version of general freight is different because it all matches what they want to do, not what the industry standard is. General freight, industry standard, and insurance. When you say general freight, you are going to be covered for consumer goods, which means anything that really goes inside of Target, Walmart, minus the food because you don't have reefer breakdown coverage. So most companies are excluding computers. They will not cover anything related to computers. They also won't cover some electronics. They won't cover, if you say you're an auto hauler and you have a, $100,000 cargo policy and you're putting stuff in a dry van and you wreck it because you put it in a dry van, are they going to cover it? Most likely because you're close enough, but don't expect them to renew you. Basically, the way that I want truckers to think about insurance is if you were to tell a broker, hey, I only want loads that are paying this set amount for this mile radius. This is how much I want to be paid at the end of every load. And they tell you, and you get paid at the end of the month. Okay. You get paid at the end of the month. You already pre-calculated how much you're going to make, and you know what you're going to make at the end of the month per what your request was. and then at the end of the month, you make half that. You're going to be pretty damn pissed. That's the equivalent of what some of these trucking companies do when they falsify what they're actually hauling, because nobody knows until months down the road when a claim happens, and now the insurance company has a shock loss. They're pissed, so they put more restrictions in. Hey, if this happens, we're not covering this now. Hey, if this happens, we're not covering this, because we've learned from our mistakes, just like you would learn from your mistake to not work with that broker or dispatcher again after that month. So like thinking about stuff from the insurance company's point of view is, what if I did this, if I said this and did this instead, and a claim happened, would I reinsure me? Probably not.
Right.
That makes sense. Now, let me ask you something. I noticed throughout the years, some insurance companies offer towing services free or of charge, and some of them don't, even when you pay the same rate. What is the difference on that? How can we educate ourselves to make sure that we are getting a tow service when we're purchasing an insurance, just in case we need it along the way?
Just turning around and just saying, telling your insurance broker, hey, my requirements are this. This is the coverage I want. This coverage, this coverage, this coverage. I also want towing coverage. That if you want towing coverage that only covers you during a claim, great. That's probably going to be included. If you want towing coverage that covers you during a mechanical breakdown, you should probably go to Progressive. If you get, I mean, just whatever it is, because usually towing through insurance companies arise out of covered claims. So it's very dependent. That's a very gray area that I can't really say, hey, this is a definite answer. But you can ask your insurance broker and say, hey, when okay, I wanted towing. When does this not cover me? What are my exclusions? If you ask them what your exclusions are, even if they say I don't know, say, okay, go to the insurance company and ask for what my exclusions are. Because I mean, I'll be the first one to tell you, I don't know every single exclusion. I'd be lying if I did. But we, just as much as you, need education on these things. So I work with over 100 different insurance companies. You think I'm going to remember every single insurance company's exclusions? Probably not. They change way too often. Way too often. So I wouldn't even, to be honest with you, I wouldn't even bash an insurance agent that's been doing it for 20 years if they said I didn't know. It doesn't mean they're uneducated. It just means, hey, they don't work with this insurance company too often that they wrote you with, which is not a bad thing. That means they're actually shopping your insurance and making sure that they're getting all the best quotes. Because the first thing that I do when someone comes to me and says, hey, I need this coverage, and if I don't know where to place it, I'm going to ask the MGA that represents the insurance company to say, hey, these are the requirements. What are some of the insurance companies that are going to take this on? And they'll come back and say, hey, we have a couple insurance companies that'll take that on exactly how you want it, but the rate's going to be a little bit more expensive, or, so on and so forth. And if they say the rate's going to be more expensive, I'll turn around and shop it with my usual companies and quote it without what they want. So their standard coverage, so on and so forth. So that way they can kind of compare apples to apples and say, okay, well, is it really worth me paying an extra $5,000 to make sure I have 50 miles worth of towing? Probably not.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, thank you for the transparency, and we're all learning, even you being an expert in that industry. My respects to you. What about deductibles? What is there a lot of difference out there in your industry about deductibles? Because I noticed that some of these deductibles are getting a little bit higher. How are the deductibles determined, or what's going on your end?
So yeah, deductibles are a huge player in this, because if you're willing to take on more risk, it shows more responsibility in your trucking company. So for a high risk trucking company that's had a lot of claims, insurance companies will actually force deductibles. So right now I have an insurance or an insured who had 130% loss ratio last year. which means they paid 130% of what their premium was. The insurance company did.
Wow.
So $100,000 policy, $130,000 what they ended up paying out. So they lost big time. They got non-renewed, so I had to shop them out. Now, just for them to be below, or for them to be even remotely below $300,000, they have to have a $2,500 deductible on anything valued below $50,000 and a $5,000 deductible anything above the $50,000 value.
Wow.
So it's like insurance companies will force deductibles. Now, if he wanted to turn around and make it a 5,000, 10,000 step, then his premium would go down. So you see a lot of these bigger trucking companies taking on more risk. So, for example, I'm sure like any of the mega carriers usually have like $1 million deductible. And so their physical damage, usually they'll just kind of, they'll have some backing on it. The auto liability, which trucking companies that are below 10 units don't usually hear about. You can actually, depending on the insurance company and how many years in business you're in, you can actually do auto liability deductibles. So it's called first pay. So when there's a claim, you're required to make the payment of the claim before the insurance company pays out. And then the insurance company will pay the rest out up to, it's like 900 and some odd thousand, whatever 2,500 or a million minus 2,500 is. So that's a way to keep your rate down, and that's what a lot of these bigger trucking companies do. They'll have $1 million deductible, $5 million deductible. They have a pyramid deductible. I mean, self-insured. Even self-insured trucking companies are also backed by insurance companies. It's just a pool.
Oh wow. So that I thought maybe because I've been in it like 33 years, I was under the impression that a lot of these mega carriers are self-insured. And I felt like, wow, we're competing against these mega carriers that have no insurance payments versus us with single truck that are paying high numbers for insurance. But that is not so. A lot of these mega carriers are having insurance companies covering them. Is that what it
Yeah.
is more now?
So what it is it's so being self-insured is actually a lot harder than what a lot of truckers think. It's not just as simple as saying, we got enough money, we're just going to issue our own filings. No, you have to go to an insurance company who has their own reinsurance that they're paying for, who's going to charge that back to you for a profit. You've got these insurance companies, maybe like 4 or 5 or 6 different insurance companies that'll go in on one big company and say, hey, we'll take on this amount because we have this much capital. We'll take on this amount because of this much capital. This is how much we're going to charge this mega carrier to be insured on the back end for this. And then they have to turn around, and after they get all the insurance company signatures and write-offs on it, they have to present that to the federal government, and the government has to approve their self-insured. They have to approve that.
Gotcha. So it is
So
complicated.
yeah, so even though they're self-insured, they're probably just taking on the first $1 million to $5 million. And then the moment that usually, like for a pyramid example, so let's say that I have a 40,000 unit carrier and I have $1 million deductible. Well, after $1 million, I have to notify them once it gets halfway to $1 million for each claim. Hey, Mr. Insurance Company, we're estimated to pay at least $500,000 for this. I have to alert them. And then once I alert them, they're going to start gathering and sending people out to refrain from having to pay out on their end. So they'll pay, a couple $100,000 to make sure that they don't have to pay out, any additional money.
Oh,
And like it's just like a single unit, right? If they get into a catastrophic claim, people are there. They want to mitigate that risk as much as possible. They want to get in front of people, get signatures stating, hey, we're not holding this trucking company at fault. Hey, I'm taking this $10,000 as a payoff. Like, they want to get people handled before it goes to court.
Yes. Gotcha.
So mega trucking companies, like for example, Swift having that massive lawsuit. I believe it was in Texas. I believe it was Swift. Maybe I'm wrong, but there's like some trucking company out there is in Texas right now with a $110 million lawsuit, and I believe their first pay was like $5 million.
Wow.
And the insurance companies are kind of like, dude, $110 million is absurd. That's beyond anybody's limit.
Yes, it's getting out of hand. Thank you for all your answers. I'm pretty sure whoever is listening is gonna learn a lot, just like I'm learning a lot myself, just by listening to you. Is there are you specialized in any kind of insurance area? Or
So I do basically anything insurance. If it's got wheels, I can try to ride it, but usually it's just transportation involved. So whether it's trucking, hot shot, cargo, I mean, a courier, doesn't matter. So usually all the coverages are fairly the same, just different insurance level requirements.
and just for the people that are listening, just besides me, just what is your background, if you don't mind me asking? What are your achievements, your recognitions? Just because it seems that you know a lot, it sounds like you've been around for a while. Just for people to have some kind of, people sometimes ask for qualifications, so on. I've been in that area myself. Sounds like you know a lot. Why do you know a lot? Or how long you've been doing this? What are your maybe credits to your career, if I might ask?
Yeah, so I've been in the insurance industry for just shy of just shy of 2 years. What I've done in the first 6 months, as far as insurance for the trucking industry, that I've been in this for about 2 years now. First 6 months, I did nothing but trainings, did nothing but sitting in on calls, did nothing but talking to insurance companies, getting my insurance licenses, working with different states to get my insurance license there, to make it to where I'm insured or licensed in all 50 states. Doing that for 6 months straight of nothing but studying and looking into policies and reading regulations, reading through the FMCSA regulations, all this stuff. I mean, everything is on Google. I kid you not. You have to go to reputable companies, you have to go to reputable websites, and it's not very hard to differentiate those because it's usually .org or .gov. But reading through those for 6 months, writing policies for 6 months, getting it double checked by people who write the JB Hunts, who write the Schneiders, who write the Jack Coopers, like, and having them criticize every single policy that I write, and then waiting for approval on those. And I mean, it was a learning process. So when people tell me, "Oh, I've been in trucking for 12 years, I know what insurance is." No, you've let someone write your insurance for 12 years and you hope to God that it's worked out. It's completely it's it's way more in depth than what anybody thinks until they get into the position. I will tell you that for free. I used to think about insurance all the time. Used to tell my insurance broker for my personal vehicle, which is way easier to write than transportation, and was just like, "Oh, I only need auto liability, physical damage." And I thought that was good. I thought there was just a national standard base of, the coverages, so on and so forth. And now that I look into it, it's, hey, you have to know the value. You have to basically know the value of every single piece of that unit before you send that out to get bound. You have to tell these companies, hey, this is what this is worth, this is what we're doing, and this is what we want to insure it for. This is the rate that, is justified. This is what's going to work. And that's kind of my background on that. Other than that, I've been in sales and customer service since I was 16. So back in what, 2020, or no, not 2020, 26, no, 2014. So 2014 is when I've been in customer service, and I've always excelled in any of my careers, whether it was working at Pizza Hut, getting promoted when I was 18 to an area coach, or working at Verizon and being top sales rep in the nation and having the most customer service, or the most customer comments about my customer service, or trucking companies reaching out to me and referring me business because they like how open I am and transparent and telling them whether or not they're actually screwing up their business. It's just, and I take classes every month, making sure that I'm up to speed. Tommy Rook with MCIEF, go to that. That's actually happening down in Florida right now. I just took a couple of the classes a couple months ago. Being involved in MATS, where I got to meet Justice and a few other people down there, and just asking questions. So that's my background.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Two things that I've learned myself were what you mentioned. We had some old guys that I trained, maybe 15 years in, the other one 10. And being on the road and taking things for granted, you kind of forget about the basics. I had the wife coming out of school and kind of refreshing the inspection, uh, the inspection for the trucks. And this guy's been on the road forever with me, and I trained them, and they were lacking on their inspection. So her coming out of fresh out of school, she kind of went through the whole process with us, and she was actually catching more things than the old guys behind the wheel. So it does matter to kind of refresh yourself, to kind of go back and doing it right rather than just trying to go fast and forgetting some things that are very important. That's something that kind of I give you props for that, for you kind of going through the 6 months of training, because I knew the value of training, and also for attend this Florida class to update yourself. The other thing that caught my attention from you is your transparency. I can see the transparency in you, and reminds me of the old school ways. The handshake means a lot, and the yes means yes, the no means no, and you right with it. Uh, I believe you have that, for what I gather. So I thank you for that. It's very important. It's not very common nowadays. So I thank you just for holding to those things and bringing them up to the table. So I believe just with those two things, you'll obviously succeeding, but hopefully more doors open up to you or for you.
No, I appreciate your kind words, and I mean it means a lot, because I mean my at the end of the day, the words our word is all we have. So especially when I'm talking to people over the phone, that's the only thing I've got is my word. And if my word can't be carried, then it's not worth doing business with me, and I know that. So I take pride in being transparent. I think that's what separates me from a lot of my competition. And no, I definitely appreciate that. I'm glad that people are starting to see that now.
Yes, sir. It goes a long way, at least for me. Something that is kind of lost in the industry, but it does mean a lot. Uh, Now, one thing that I always did question, and I did try to work with Great West in this side of the industry. This is like insurance working as a team with carriers, right? One of the things that I did see lacking from insurance companies working as partners with the carriers is that there's not much public information for us carriers to kind of be aware of. For example, like you mentioned, insurance companies spend tons of money in their field or in their businesses keeping the lights on. But one of the areas what I believe they don't spend enough money in is in educating us, the partners holding their policies. For example, something that I would have appreciated insurance companies doing, since I don't believe the government is doing enough, is giving us a heads up. Hey, listen, the holidays are coming. There's a high rate of theft going on right now. Make sure you put your locks on your trailers when loaded and resetting at home, or be careful with the phones out of the harbor, because there's been a few cases somebody got a truck jacked. These events that are real for us on the road. I wish insurance companies, because they're in it for the money, but also protecting their assets, that they would get more involved with us on educating us how we can work together, kind of protect their our assets, or even with our safety, or even some of this there's groups that are causing accidents, fraud accidents, for example. So that's something that I have always been surprised. Why they don't invest enough money in educating us on how to prevent events when it comes to daily activity.
And that kind of takes us back to, your previous point, when you talked about, you're at the desk, you're working, you don't have time to do other things. And so how can insurance companies invest and waste money to talk to truckers that don't want to talk to them? They have to have the audience first. Just like with insurance, you have to have the clientele first before you can go out and start educating people. So that's what I did, and that's what I started doing. I started doing TikToks. And I've only gained 50 followers after posting videos for, I would say, 6 months now. 50 followers.
Wow.
That's it.
Really?
So I mean, that yeah, that's basically what I that's the biggest issue, is like, I'm posting free content, and even when it's free, people don't want to listen. So I personally even wouldn't be able to justify even spending $100 a month trying to give my time to educate people when they won't even take it for free.
Wow. Well, it was, let me turn it around. Not too long ago, I was running a group with 600,000 members, mostly truck drivers, owner operators, fleet owners, and there was, some part of government there, CHP, DOT. We kind of balanced it out with all the whole partnership in logistics. So the platform was there, and when I was trying to get someone from Great West or from the insurance aspect of it, with the platform already running with 600,000 people involved in the chain supply,
Mhm.
they were thinking about it. So once I saw that they were not aggressive in trying to promote safety and kind of educate us on preventable, accidents or theft, it kind of blew my mind, because it was a free platform with 600,000 people involved behind the steering wheel, or shippers and receivers. I was like, whoa, that doesn't make sense to me. So that's why I was bringing it to your attention, because the platform was there and it was
Right.
directly to trucks, So to me, that's why I was saying that.
No, 100%. I think that's very detrimental. I mean, that's the reason why I'm even on here today, is because, I mean, if we had 100,000 members, I guarantee that my company would be highly willing to be involved in something like that, because I mean, they look at it from a sales perspective, don't get me wrong. But I mean, just kind of like how I'm doing right now, I'm sitting here talking. Am I hoping to generate leads at some point in time? Of course. But more often than not, I do this because I enjoy educating people. I enjoy training people. I enjoy, you know, customer service. That is my cup of tea. That is where I excel. So, I mean, with me doing this, I mean, I haven't posted a video in probably a good 2 months now, because I mean, it's the same people that, like my posts and everything like that, and that's great. I appreciate it. But until my videos can, get traction, and start actually helping people. I'm involved in a mentorship that, these guys are binding up left and right with me because they just want to age their authority and they don't know how to do it properly. And I walk them through and say, hey, you're going to be with me for the first 6 months. You're going to need to contact Geico and or contact this company, this company, this company, because in the state that you're in, I'm not going to be beneficial to you. They have this company. This is where you need to go. So I will lose clients all day to make sure that they get to where they need to go. That's just the long short term of it. But I'm sitting here and just like offering my time and posting on Snap or not Snapchat, on TikTok saying, "Hey, just reach out to me. Just reach out to me. I will give you the answers. If I don't know the answer, I will find it." I'm sitting right next to my boss. I'm literally 40 steps away from the C-suite people, the CEOs, the COO, the CFO. Like, I sit next to these guys who will have the answers if I don't. We can walk over there and go ask them on live half the time. Like, it doesn't matter. So it's just very discouraging on my end seeing that not a lot of people are taking advantage of, you know, the time that I'm willing to put in, because I work on weekends to make videos, to talk to people on TikTok and all that, and that's all free. So it just kind of goes back to that portion. And then also about Great West, I know there's a few people that I've tried to insure that won't leave Great West because Great West flies them out to different seminars and programs that they run and stuff like that. Like, they'll do that for current clients that, of course, they're usually bringing in a significant amount of premium, usually about 100,000 plus, so 10 plus units. And they'll fly the CEOs out there and pay for dinners and stuff like that and making sure that they get out there. So I mean, they will do stuff like that, but usually it's per their client, not per prospects or for example, like what I'm doing, I'm just doing it just to do it.
Yeah, and if there's any value in it, I mean, I I see the value of it and appreciate it. And the only thing I could tell you about it is that it's not in vain. Uh, a lot of people are just on the silence, watching, listening. They might not be active, but they are listening and they are learning. I'm learning a lot from you today. Maybe one of the things that we can do here is up to Chris, but maybe if you can stay there as the insurance team member with us, and whenever we have a prospective client or somebody with a question, maybe we can refer them to you so you can kind of work along the side with us as a team. But it's up to them. I'm just a new member with them, just trying to figure things out here, trying to help the industry as much as I can with the little that I know. But you seem like a nice candidate to kind of get the insurance side of it. And I
Mhm.
do come around some individuals that own trucks that they have insurance questions, but it's up to Mike and Chris that they want to keep you here in the group with us. And when we run into insurance needs, maybe we can get a hold of you. I don't know if that's something that Mike and Chris might be approving, but that would be nice. This way, you don't have to feel that you just uh, investing your time in vain. I assure you, it's not in vain. You might not see the harvest now, but it is not in vain. That I guarantee you.
No, and I appreciate that. I mean, by no means am I sitting here saying I better get leads from this and I better sell policies. I honestly could care less. I don't care about that. Like, I just legitimately want to be able to hear people's stories about, listening and learning something. So like this is great. Like, I appreciate this. I think you're giving me a lot of support on this and I do greatly appreciate it. So when it comes down to stuff like this, like this is why I like to be on here with you guys and talk. And it's no, this is definitely very helpful and I appreciate that a lot. And hopefully you guys do keep me around. That'd be great.
Uh, No, we are. We already talked about it, Brian. Um, yeah, Ignacio. So Brian is. Why am I echoing? Brian is one of our insurance agents that we are working with. We have
Okay.
been for a little while, and that's exactly one of the things that the collective that everybody can sign up to can actually be able to use. He's going to be our referral insurance guy.
Oh, glad to hear that. Glad to hear that. I haven't been engaging on the other groups. Of course, that one group from past, present, and future I got hijacked. But we have the marketing place. There's over 200,000 members on there. I haven't been involved in that group for a while, but I believe I'm still moderator for it. Uh, it might be somewhere in there that he might be kind of exposing services or not. I will talk to Margaret or Mario to see what they're doing with that website there. But if he's already in your team and he's already somebody involved in this group, yeah, it would be great for him just to have more doors open to see what he can do as far as helping us get better with this policies, or if not, just to answer questions, kind of educate us on it. But that's a great thing to hear that he's already kind of established.
Yeah, and Dan was supposed to come in, but I guess he got too busy with work. Dan is actually the other insurance guy that we're actually going to be working with too. So we got two different insurance agents to where everybody could get quotes from.
Okay. All right.
And
So
the bigger the collective gets, we're working out deals to where the more members that we get, the higher discounts the members can actually get.
let me ask you something. I know about the members and the sign up thing. It might be somewhere up there, but we need to probably make it more public to where people would see. Or is there another option? Because I'll be completely honest, just like Truckwise is. I mean, I hate to get into a lot of technical stuff on the computer because sometimes it takes a while to sign up, and it kind of I'm intimidated by it. Not because I can't do it, but sometimes just because of the time to be added to something else. Uh, but if we can do it where we can advertise it without actually filling that form out, or just remind people, hey, join us, this is what the benefits are if you join. So this is something that might be kind of positive or kind of push us to do it. So I believe it needs to be advertised a little bit more aggressively as far as or educating us, like, why do we need to join, why do we need to sign up, kind of explain why it's important for us to join this way. It kind of grows. This way you have more activity going with newcomers or even people just swinging by. If some catches our attention, it's important for us to know, okay, this is worth my time. But it's just an idea. But I'll look it up and see. But it's great news that he's here, and he's already established. This way, if I am able to um, uh, kind of promote him or kind of share his name with other people that I know here in the area, or just like myself, I might give him a call. When my agent gives me this quote, and I might just call him up and say, "Listen, this is what I got. Can you beat this?" So it's good to always have somebody there, because if we're in this business, we definitely got need partners like him, just like in other areas.
Yeah, we're working on a affiliates page on the website to be able to promote promote everybody that we're working with.
Oh,
got-
great.
We got TAP that we're working with. And then, you know, truck wise, we have Dan, the other insurance guy that we're working with. It just takes time because everybody that's doing this, me, Michael, and some, you know, our IT department, we all have jobs, right? We all have a full-time job, so it kind of gets worked on whenever, you know, the IT department actually has time to actually work on it. So it's really a grassroots movement. Put it that way.
Yes, sir. So let's say, for example, Truckwise is on here.
Mhm.
And I don't know, I haven't looked at the comments, but let's say he leaves some there, let's say his business card, whatever. Would I be able to take a screenshot of his business card and put it on the group and say, listen, this is our insurance representative, give him a shot, you know, do we have the tools, do we have the okay to do things like that? Because this is what I like to do. This is what I would do. Are you okay with stuff like that?
Here's the problem with it right now is with all the haters that we do have, any information that we put out on these spaces, they will use against us. So, like, if we put Truckwise's like contact info on the space, they will start contacting him and trying to get him not to work with us. See what I'm saying? They've already done it with Bounty Hunter. They're trying to do it with Truxedo right now. They already mentioned you, Ignacio, that you're going to be the next that they go after. Just so you know.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm afraid of nothing, and I have none to hide. It's okay.
Yeah, I know.
It's okay. I believe in God, and I have faith, and I'm okay to expose myself, and I know better than to, you know, kind of listen to rumors or manipulation. I'm okay with everything. I mean, if we were running that 600,000 member group, you know, and I'm okay to put myself out there. I'm okay with all that stuff. I had, you know, haters would always be haters, and we've been okay with it for years. So to me, it's better to face them than to hide from them, you know. But just to let you know, I know who my group is, my people are. So I'm okay with stuff like that. But thank you for the heads up.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I didn't give you a call. They already mentioned it like a couple of days ago. Yeah. I already knew you wouldn't be affected by it.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Yeah, sorry, Truckwise. You know, you hear the ugliness of this public forums, you know, and I'm pretty sure you probably had some negative feedback in some of your TikToks or some of your public probably videos or whatever it is. That comes with the territory when we come out here in the public, Chris. I'm not new to it. It's okay, but you know what? When you work in good faith and where you're offering your free time in good faith to help the industry, it shouldn't matter, because I believe if we live by conscience, trying to do good, we shouldn't worry about the bad. We should not be afraid of doing good things. And when we do good things, we should trust that they are going to be just that, good things. So if people around us don't like the good things we're doing, to me, it's okay, because I'm okay with opposition. But thank you for you guys' time. You guys are great people. I wish you all the best, and hopefully we work together and remain faithful to the cause and helping each other out and working forward in good faith.
Yeah, and that's the goal. Truck wise,
Yes, sir.
you have Facebook. You have Facebook, right?
I do.
So one thing you can do is join the Facebook group, Pastime for a Change,
Okay.
and start advertising in there.
Yeah, okay, because that's my personal one. So yeah, I could still do that. That'd be fine.
Well, yeah, if you don't want to do your personal, create a business account, a separate account. That's what I would do actually.
Okay, I can do that.
Yeah,
If
go
you
ahead
want.
there. Yeah, go ahead in there, Truckwise, and thank you, Chris, for approving that. Because I'll get a little more active in that group. I know it's growing, so it takes work. It takes work. It took us about 6 years to get to 600,000 followers, but it was super strong. You got to see it. I'll see about the other group.
Yeah.
I haven't been on there for the truckers group, the truck market site. But yeah, that'd be a good place for him to start. Just putting some stuff up there with Truckwise, and the as an insurance agent. But yeah, that's what I meant from the beginning. Let him put his stuff out there in that group. At least he won't waste his time knowing that this is truck drivers and this is possible clients as well. Just to give him an outlet for exposing himself as an agent. So thank you for that.
And Chris, I'm actually already in it.
Are you?
Yes, sir.
Huh.
I'm in it with my personal one.
Oh yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I guess it must have been one of the other moderators that accepted you in. I didn't know you were in there. But yeah, I mean, if you want to start another account, that way it's separate, that's fine. Or just start using your account, whichever.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Yeah, I wouldn't really put any contact info. Just tell them to reach out to you in like a DM.
Okay.
Because like I said, we do have haters. So
That sounds good to me. I
they'll
can
start.
definitely do that.
Yeah, if you put like a phone number or email, they'll start blowing that up.
Perfect. It'll show some traffic being driven to my phone. My company will love
it. Right. Ignacio.
Chuck,
What's that?
if Truckwise is okay with it, I'll send you his contact info.
Yeah.
Because I do have his number.
Oh yeah, yeah. If you don't mind, please do, because I do. I do have a lot of relationships in the trucking industry, and it comes in handy. Actually, wish I would have known about him earlier, because I had like three friends in the industry that were looking for options. So it's a great contact information. Truckwise, where are you out of, and what is your time of business?
Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and time of business is anytime they need it, but usually between 8 a.m. Central Time to 5 p.m. Central Time.
Okay, it's good to know. Yeah, I try not to bother you in the weekends. I don't know if you have a family or not, but
That
try
I
to
do.
separate. Yes, sir. So yeah, I try to respect the times. But if anything comes up, I'll make sure. Do you prefer text or a phone call is preferred?
Preferably a text. Honestly, I love texting way more.
Got you.
I'm only
Okay.
27, man. I love texting.
I can understand that. Yeah, no, I thank you for your time and wish you the best. And thanks, Chris, for at least, getting them to post stuff on there. I try to get more active. I was focusing on my business this couple of weeks, so I hadn't been much involved in that group, but I'll start putting some stuff in there.
Yeah. Yeah, just start posting up in the group. It's not very big
All
yet,
right.
but
It's
it,
okay.
yeah, it's
That's
growing.
how it starts. Yeah, that's how it starts, just little things in there. And this is actually a very, very important conversation with Truckwise here educating us. But anyways, you guys got anything else? Should we call it a day here?
Yeah. Yeah, I was about ready to shut it down. We're already been on the hour and a half. But yeah, I'll send you his info that way you got it for your renewal and you could get
Yes,
a
sir.
quote from him.
Okay. Sounds good.
No, I'll even send you Dan's too. That way you could get a quote from him too.
Okay.
All right.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you guys and keep on doing what you're doing. Drive safe and let me know if there's anything you guys need from me, okay?
All right. Appreciate it,
Okay.
Truckwise.
Well,
Thank you
thank
guys.
thank you for your information. Have a wonderful week.
You as well.
Thank you.